A CloudOps engineer is troubleshooting an issue where an Amazon CloudWatch Synthetics canary fails to execute when deployed inside a private VPC that has no internet connectivity. The canary results are intended to be stored in an Amazon S3 bucket. The engineer has verified the configuration against a working canary in a public VPC, but cannot get the private one to start. What steps must the engineer take to enable the canary to function correctly in this private VPC?
Option A. Activate DNS resolution and host names in the VPC settings. Grant the Synthetics Get Canary Runs permission. Update the S3 bucket policy to include an Ignore Public ACLs directive for the service role. Option B. Deactivate DNS resolution and host names. Provision a Gateway VPC endpoint for S3 and configure the necessary permissions for CloudWatch Synthetics to access the endpoint.
Option C. Deactivate DNS resolution and host names. Configure a security group on the canary to permit outbound DNS traffic and assign write permissions to the S3 bucket. Option D. Activate DNS resolution and host names in the VPC. Provision an interface VPC endpoint for CloudWatch and a gateway VPC endpoint for S3, and configure appropriate permissions for both endpoints.
This scenario explores how to maintain service connectivity in isolated network environments. When a resource, like a canary, sits within a private VPC without internet access, it cannot reach AWS services directly. You need to consider how the resource resolves service names and how it routes traffic to necessary service endpoints while keeping the data traffic private. In my view, the correct answer is D. To run CloudWatch Synthetics canaries in a private VPC without internet, you must enable DNS resolution and host names. This allows the canary to resolve service endpoints to the private IP addresses of your VPC endpoints. Since the canary needs both CloudWatch service connectivity and the ability to upload results to S3, you need specific endpoints, an interface VPC endpoint for CloudWatch and a gateway VPC endpoint for S3. Let's look at why the other options are incorrect. Options B and C are wrong because deactivating DNS resolution and host names will prevent the VPC endpoints from functioning correctly. Option A is incorrect because the permissions mentioned regarding S3 public ACLs are irrelevant to the fundamental network connectivity issues faced in a private VPC. A key exam tip here is to always remember that private VPC connectivity for AWS services almost always requires enabled DNS attributes.